They haven't been examining you closely. Their wisdom has been taught by you. Your life's impending breakthrough will do more than just alter your situation. It will completely change the course of events for everyone who has been observing you. The same individuals who are closely examining every action you took are now going to be examining every tactic you use. Your strengths are going to be discovered by the same people who were searching for your faults. This is what's going to occur. And because it will come sooner than everyone anticipates, I need you to get ready for it. You're going to reach a point where those who are observing you will need to look up in order to see you. You're going to rise to a point where anybody who wants to question you will have to qualify before they can get near you. The change will be so significant that the same executives who were keeping an eye on your potential will want to speak with you. When the change is so complete, the same people who were deciding whether you were a danger will be wondering how they might support you. The most lovely aspect of the whole tale, however, is right here. Their demise won't be the foundation of your advancement. Their failure won't be necessary for your success. Since genuine power doesn't work that way, your success won't need their downfall. Genuine power may amplify itself without devaluing others. Dominance may be achieved without killing rivals in order to have true influence. This is the point at which your narrative becomes legendary, because what is about to happen will change the way power shifts take place in the contemporary world. You're going to show what redemptive leadership looks like, not smash people who disagreed with you. Rather of penalizing the people that looked into you, you're going to set an example for gracious leadership. You're going to demonstrate what inclusive brilliance produces, rather than shutting out those who attempted to exclude you. Your approaches will be considered as preferable solutions in the same boardrooms where your name was brought up as a possible issue. Workshops where your method is taught as the new norm will be held in the same conference rooms where your influence was seen as a danger. Your concepts will be put into practice as policy in the same offices where your accomplishment was examined as an oddity. Retaliation or retribution won't bring about this turnaround. It will occur as a result of change and revelation. Those who watch you to look for signs of corruption will now be the ones learning from you about real building. The same people who are looking into you to find out about your compromises will now be looking into you to find out about your consistency. You've been working from plenty, understanding that your breakthrough opens doors for others to do the same, while they've been working from scarcity, believing that your success means they're limited. You've been operating from faith, knowing that there is enough elevation for everyone who is ready to put in the necessary effort, while they've been operating from fear, fearing that your ascent would mean their downfall. Power doubled is what your ascent is going to demonstrate. Distributed influence is magnified impact. Success hastened is that which is applauded. The same individuals who were attempting to restrict your influence are going to learn that your success really increases their opportunities. And now for the last twist that turns this into a legend. They believed they were seeing inside a single individual, but in reality, they were recording a whole movement. Your personal achievement is poised to emerge as the vanguard of a profound transformation in the way real power functions globally. A new paradigm of ethical prosperity is about to emerge, and a surveillance network that was created to keep an eye on you is going to become the witness system that attests to it. Every note they made, every meeting they had, and every study they carried out all served as proof in favor of success based on integrity. Their inquiry becomes your defense. Your credibility is derived from their examination. Your affirmation comes from their observation. Together, you may go through challenging realizations in the obsidian inner order. We have weekly Zoom conversations with individuals who recognize that some of the most traumatic events in life may serve as our best teachings. We don't promote resentment. We develop wisdom. Your talent of being able to perceive people for who they really are will shield you from betrayals in the future. Strength, not weakness, is shown by your ability to forgive while maintaining limits. Your knowledge was not given freely. It was acquired by experience. Make connections with truth-loving individuals. Join the inner order of obsidians. The description contains a link. The observers themselves will undergo their own metamorphosis Once this surveillance season comes to an end and your sovereignty season begins, your example will educate some others, who will then radically rethink how they approach success. Your narrative will persuade some people to consider all the compromises they have made to reach their current position. Some will be motivated by your experience and start acting according to the same values that helped you succeed. These educated individuals will turn into your biggest supporters, most influential advocates, and best allies. They'll realize they weren't only seeing a human. They were seeing a paradigm shift. They weren't only watching a single person. They had a system under investigation. They were not only keeping tabs on someone's whereabouts. They were picking up someone's techniques. Others, however, would just withdraw, bearing the uneasy realization that their whole perspective was lacking. The proof that integrity may be more potent than they thought will haunt them when they return to their systems. Knowing that someone broke free by using techniques they were told don't work, they will go back to their habits. These people who are fleeing won't turn against you, but they also won't turn against you. Knowing the truth, but not being able to accept it, they will live in a condition of cognitive tension. Seeing the findings, but refusing to use the techniques that led to them, or seeing the proof, but rejecting it. Despite their reluctance to choose the better path, they will bear the weight of knowing that it existed. Then there will be a third group, those who will double down on their initial evaluation because they feel threatened by your success. They will persuade themselves that you must be concealing something, that your strategies must include dishonesty they haven't yet learned, and that your outcomes must be short-lived and unsustainable. The intriguing thing about this third group, however, is this. Your authenticity will only be further confirmed by their ongoing investigation. Their ongoing investigation will only strengthen your credibility. Their continuous monitoring will just provide additional evidence of your personality. They will become reluctant documentarians of righteous achievement and hesitant witnesses to the power of living by principles. In either case, your contribution to their education will be finished. You will have been a live example of how affluence and morality can coexist. You will have served as living proof that ethics and success can coexist. You will have served as a living example that there is a road to the top that doesn't include trampling on others. When you become too much for them to keep an eye on, the monitoring stops, not because they lose interest. The investigation ends because you go outside their scope of inquiry. Not because they discover what they're searching for. They stop watching because you get beyond their level of observation, not because they no longer care. Do you remember how this started with someone being told to watch you closely? Here's the conclusion. With everyone being given explicit orders to watch you closely, as a standard to be examined, not as a danger to be controlled, but as an example to be imitated, rather than as a target to be explored, as a solution to be put into practice, rather than as a problem to be resolved. Learning your techniques is now receiving the same effort that was previously directed toward identifying your shortcomings. Understanding your techniques now requires the same amount of effort that was previously put into learning your secrets. Accessing your knowledge now requires the same level of energy that was previously focused on revealing your flaws. You are now the one worth watching, rather than the one being observed. From being the focus of research to becoming the inspiration for others. From being scrutinized to becoming the benchmark for excellence. And now, for the last reveal. They believed you were doing something wrong. Therefore, they never truly observed you. They understood deep down that you were doing something right, which is why they were watching you. And in a world where they thought right didn't function, they had to comprehend how it was possible. Overcoming monitoring hasn't been the only aspect of your experience. The goal has been to turn surveillance into a party. Surviving the inquiry hasn't been the only aspect of your adventure. The goal has been to turn research into motivation. Being under constant observation hasn't been your only journey. The goal has been to transform critique into education. Here's what I need you to comprehend, chosen one. Remember that you were never a supporting role in someone else's tale as you enter this new world. In your own tale, you are always the protagonist. And everyone who has been observing has seen the ascent of a person who was meant to reshape the realm of possibility. The breakthrough is now, not just on the horizon. Not only is the change coming, it is already occurring. Not only is the elevation on the horizon, it is already underway. And others who believe they were secretly studying your techniques are going to find out they were really being taught about your proficiency up close. They uncovered proof that you are unique, while they were searching for evidence that you were like everyone else. They came looking for proof that you had compromised your path to success and found evidence that you had paved the route for success with principles. They found your weapons and came looking for your vulnerabilities. Your abilities have evolved from the very qualities they believed would restrict you. The chase is ended. The harvest is in way. And the one you choose are the gardener and the garden of everything that you planted in secret while they were secretly observing. You are no longer under investigation. The moment to celebrate you has here. It's the end of your questioning season. It's the beginning of your quotation season. Your time of being suspiciously observed is over. Your time of being admired is coming to an end. Greetings from the other side of the breakthrough, where you are the one worth watching rather than the one being watched. Where you are the answer to their issues rather than the topic of their meetings. Where you are the instructor of their metamorphosis rather than the object of their attention. The monitoring has finished. The process of sovereignty has started. And all those who believe they were seeing your tale play out are going to realize they were really seeing a sneak peek of their own potential. Now is your time, selected one. Now is your moment. This is your breakthrough. And it's more, better, and more exquisite than you or anybody else could have ever dreamed. Selected one. With the accuracy of a celestial prophet, you called it. And now, with the certainty of divine justice, you're seeing the fulfillment of each and every prophecy. Due to their ego's inability to accept the spiritual beating they've taken at the hands of unfathomable global forces, this fixated person will not stop talking. And the sole purpose of their continuous cacophony is to broadcast your total vindication as they further deteriorate into the repercussions of confronting someone who is protected in ways they could never reach. Do you recall the unnerving realization that you were being studied like a scientific experiment? The way some interactions seem planned. How certain details of your life keep coming up in inappropriate places. While your rational mind was still attempting to make sense of the patterns, your inner knowing was shouting warnings. You were seeing the beginning of an obsession so intense that this drama queen would put their own mental health at risk in an attempt to figure out where your power came from. Instead of taking lessons from your success, protection, and innate charm, they chose to take it. If not so pitifully misguided, the subsequent multitasking trickery would have amazed you with its scale. Imagine a desperate individual holding 16 different poison bottles. Each was assigned to a distinct area of your life with the intention of tainting your relationships, profession, reputation, and mental health. Different flying monkeys had been assigned to assault each region at the same time. The amount of mental space you were taking up in their minds is shown by the coordination needed for such an operation. They were creating a whole conspiracy theory with you at its center, while you were creating an empire. For their expedition, they enlisted knights. Emissaries who would spread their fabricated vision of reality to everybody who would listen. These were no ordinary individuals. They chose these particular people on the basis of their own grievances and fears. They persuaded them that they were fighting for justice, offered them a target for their annoyances, and promised them validation. They were surprised to discover that their meticulously constructed story had more holes than a fishing net, and that reality has a way of coming to the surface like oil on water. When one of their own flying monkeys began making awkward inquiries, it was the first discovery. Do you recall how you foresaw this happening? How did you know that those who were coerced into doing something would ultimately turn against you? Reports from the night they dispatched to look into your vulnerabilities didn't meet their standards. They discovered strength rather than weakness. Rather of uncovering secrets to take advantage of, they found openness that, in contrast, rendered their charges ridiculous. Their support system started to erode like acid due to the cognitive dissonance. At the same time, your life kept moving forward with an almost magical speed. The timing of the new chances appeared to have been orchestrated by heavenly powers. Like rivers rerouted by heavenly intervention, resources poured in your direction. Genuinely influential and honest people started to gravitate toward your energy because they saw something real and unwavering that was impossible to fake or imitate. Even their most devoted followers started to wonder whether side of this dispute was morally superior because of the sharp contrast between your growing wealth and their spiraling disarray. The period of research was unavoidable, chosen because truth endures on its own, while falsehoods need ongoing upkeep. Naturally, people started comparing notes when different versions of the same tale began to circulate. Like earthquake fractures in a foundation, inconsistencies surfaced. It became hard to disregard timeline inconsistencies. The evidence they believed they were creating against you began to paint a very different image. One in which they were the aggressor, the manipulator, and the one acting with utmost evil under the garb of morality. Like volcanoes that had been accumulating pressure for years, family disputes erupted. Resources, time, and emotional energy that might have been used for their own relationships were all devoured by the drama queen's fixation with ruining you. Youngsters started to wonder why their parents spoke about you more than their accomplishments. Spouses began to wonder why money from the home was going to private investigators and spiritual workers. When they became aware of the extent of their delusion, extended family members who had previously backed their cause started to distance themselves. The phony excuses began to pour like a guilty conscience's confessions. However, they were not displays of sincere regret. People who discovered they had allied themselves with a sinking ship attempted to repair the harm. The extent of their deception was exposed by the very knights they had enlisted to fight the battle on your behalf. To win their cooperation, they revealed the falsehoods they had told them. They never planned to fulfill the promises they had made. The degree of cooperation that went into what was effectively a campaign of spiritual terrorism. Justice showed up in ways that were almost too good to be true. Selected one. As their tactics breached boundaries they were unaware of, legal repercussions started to mount. When co-workers realized how obsessed they were, professional connections fell apart. Social networks that had previously offered consolation and approval turned to become places of condemnation and exclusion. They exposed and humiliated themselves using the same venues they had used to distribute false information about you. The ensuing psychological collapse was as inevitable as dawn after the darkest night. This individual had devoted a great deal of mental energy to observing your every action. They found themselves suddenly staring into the mirror of their own lives and flinching in dread. They might have created something worthwhile in their own lives with all the time and money they had invested in their fixation with you. They had instead built a monument to their own insecurities. An example of how jealousy can turn someone into a cartoon representation of their worst tendencies. When conventional attacks failed, the spiritual fight became more intense. The story's darkest phase begins at this point, because persons of low vibration often turn to techniques that are hidden in the recesses of human awareness when they come across someone who is working at your frequency. They started spending money on techniques meant to sap your vitality, impair your judgment, and put roadblocks in your way. However, they overlooked the fact that when someone is really under the protection of divine energies, these efforts not only fail, but also bounce back to their source with far more intensity. The seclusion that enveloped them turned into the ultimate manifestation of poetic justice. This individual who had put in so much effort to turn others against you was finding themselves more and more alone, speaking to walls that reflected back their own resentful words. They had turned their infatuation with you into a jail in which they were the lone prisoner and the warden. You were the focus of every discussion, social media post, every moment of wakefulness, resulting in a psychological dependence that was more pitiful than dangerous. Like a vampire who learned their prey was composed entirely of sunshine, they had grown dependent on your energy. The financial reckoning was very brutal and quick. Like morning dew beneath a burning sun, money spent on investigators, spiritual workers, and other plots to discredit you appeared to vanish from their lives. Enterprises failed. Streams of income dried up. They missed out on investment possibilities that should have been clear because they were too focused on their grudge. As if the cosmos itself was balancing the cosmic balances, the wealth they had attempted to take from you was being snatched from them in equal measure. Fighting against someone who acts with divine purpose is completely pointless, which is what makes this whole drama such a potent chosen one. Every move they made to dampen your light simply made it shine more brilliantly in contrast. Every falsehood they spread about your personality just served to emphasize how true you are. Their attacks simply demonstrated the extent of your protection and the dire repercussions of defying cosmic justice. When they eventually made an effort to confirm the information their flying monkeys had been giving them, it was the realization that crushed the last of their illusions. Do you recall your prediction that they would ultimately have to confront the reality of your current circumstances? They expected to find you shattered and defeated when they did their own inquiry, but instead they found someone who was prospering beyond their wildest dreams. Not only was your success growing, it was growing faster. Your protection was growing, not simply holding. Not only did your influence survive their assaults, but it also became stronger as a result of them. When information emerged that revealed the entire extent of their campaign, the truth about their tactics became indisputable. The degree of cooperation involved in what amounted to spiritual terrorism was shown by screenshots. Conversations that demonstrated premeditation and malevolent intent were recorded. Evidence of their financial investment in attempting to ruin your peace of mind surfaced. Even their closest supporters were no longer able to defend their actions because of the incriminating evidence that came together on its own. As family members started taking sides in a conflict that shouldn't have happened, the devastation of families reached disastrous proportions. Loathing and secrets that were uncontrollable caused tension in marriages. Uncomfortable inquiries about why their family member was so fixated on someone they professed to despise were raised by children caught in the crossfire. When they discovered the actual nature of their obsession, extended family members who had previously supplied support started to distance themselves. What began as assaults on you had turned into a disease that was destroying everything they said they valued. The culmination came when many aspects of their lives fell apart at once. Selected 1. Professional repercussions emerged as co-workers and employers turned away from the poisonous environment. As the authorities became aware of their tactics, legal issues grew. As old acquaintances saw the symptoms of someone who had totally lost touch with reality, social isolation grew. As resources continued to flow away from them like water through a broken dam, financial issues became worse. The karma they had accrued from their fixation with eliminating yours started to undermine the fundamental underpinnings of their existence. The way that the whole tale made clear to the audience the magical nature of your protection, however, is its most exquisite feature. People started to notice that every arrow that was thrown at you seemed to precisely circle back toward the archer. The individual who laid each trap for you was eventually captured. With each falsehood about you, a more profound reality about your accusers was revealed. Their campaign wasn't the only thing that survived your reputation. Compared to their blatant desperation, it came out more clearly defined as real and polished to a mirror sheen. The conclusion completes the cycle. Selected 1, but with all of that changed. A warning concerning what occurs when someone fights against divine will is spoken in spiritual circles about the drama queen who believed they could plan your demise. Their name has come to represent the negative effects of allowing envy to triumph over common sense and self-interest. Although it wasn't the type of immortality they were aiming for at the start of this novel, they did manage to get it. The quiet that now envelopes you is not the false serenity before a storm. It's the silence that comes after a spiritual storm that clears your surroundings of anything phony and unsteady. Those who choose to connect themselves with truth instead of cozy falsehoods and acknowledge your genuine authority are the ones that stay in your circle. This war wasn't merely lost by your adversaries. Fighting it caused them to lose themselves. Recognize that this whole process was more than just conquering the opponent as you stand here in this moment of total vindication. It was about demonstrating the full scope of your spiritual might. Everyone who saw this story gained a deep understanding of the difference between real power and fake manipulation. They saw directly how someone who is working in accordance with divine purpose becomes untouchable, not by coercion or revenge, but by the sheer reality that justice always finds its target and truth always wins out. The last lesson permeates every part of this narrative. The world itself becomes an ally in ways that are beyond human comprehension when someone is really selected, guarded, and acting from a position of genuine spiritual power. Your adversaries do not just confront you. They are up against cosmic forces that, long before their resistance was ever imagined, were setting up the conditions for your triumph. We are discussing the kind of change that alters reality itself. The type of success that has people wondering whether there are favorites in the cosmos. The type of impact that makes people watch your actions like you're giving a masterclass. The type of wealth that demonstrates that there's a whole other route to success than the one that most people are familiar with. As you read this, resources are mobilizing in ways that are invisible to you. In networks you're unaware of, connections are aligning. There are opportunities to coordinate in systems you have never used before. Favor is building up in accounts that you haven't yet created. And your life is experiencing what can only be characterized as spiritual turbulence as a result of all this supernatural activity. They're sensing this turbulence. Their alarms are being set off by this. Their systems are flagging you as someone who needs to be monitored because of this. They're attempting to position themselves to either contain or manage the gigantic monster that's developing around you, but they don't know what they're feeling. This section will help you understand the true significance of your breakthrough. What spiritual intelligence networks refer to as prophetic interruption is being caused by the exceptional size of the benefit that is about to enter your life. Dreams concerning you are being given to people with supernatural abilities who act dishonestly. People that work for corrupt institutions and possess psychic powers are seeing your destiny. Those who work as spiritual advisors for corrupted leaders are receiving insights on your fate. Additionally, every one of these paranormal downloads is leading to the same conclusion. You're going to assume a level of power that will radically change the way your generation views success. The rules governing what is feasible for those who refuse to surrender their integrity will be rewritten as you reach a dimension of influence. You're about to enter a realm of power that will definitively demonstrate that morality and power are not mutually exclusive. It is the origin of the strongest force in the universe. Huge benefits are already coming your way that will completely change the possibilities for your family line. There are opportunities that will turn your present problems into warm-up activities. Resources are being mobilized to transform your greatest aspirations into your tiniest successes. However, the adversary of your advancement knows something that you may not. There's usually a testing phase before a big breakthrough, when everything you've said you believe is scrutinized under pressure. A season in which the people who benefit from your character's rarity evaluated. And you are precisely where you are at this moment. It's not because you're in trouble that you're the subject of this monitoring, examination, and close observation. It's occurring because you're about to enter a realm where their limits have no influence over your reality, their views are no longer important, and their approval is no longer required. Consider this. Why do maximum security prisons step up their monitoring of inmates just before they are scheduled to be released? Because systems usually tighten their hold when they feel like they're about to lose control and liberation is coming. The likelihood of your breakthrough is closely correlated with the level of viewer intensity. Every discussion in which your future is addressed, every meeting in which your name is referenced, every choice that impacts your potential is discussed. These are not isolated incidents. These are indicators that you're getting close to a turning point that will radically change the distribution of power in all the areas you touch. This is the information that will alter your perspective on the matter as a whole. Your impending breakthrough will do more than just boost your self-esteem. It's intended to show everyone who has been watching that there are more effective ways to make a difference in the world, establish a better life, gain influence, and produce riches in a sustainable manner. You're not just succeeding for yourself. For everyone who was told they had to make concessions in order to compete, you are making history. For every person who believed that achieving success meant abandoning their spirit, you are rising. For every dreamer who believed that moral compromise was the only path to success, you are rising. Your triumph gives them the confidence to think that influence and honesty can coexist. This is when things take a turn that neither you nor anybody else anticipated. Something significant has been taking place in the spiritual world while they've been looking for proof that you're just like everyone else they know. Not only has your adherence to unfathomable ideals protected you, but has also set you up for something that will surprise everyone who has followed your path. You see, light does not get faint when it comes into contact with darkness. The darkness is revealed by the light. When integrity and corruption collide, the integrity remains unaffected by the corruption. The corruption is indisputable due to the integrity. When artificial influence comes into contact with legitimate power, the created influence does not reveal the authenticity of the power. The fake influence is shown to be hollow by the real power. Therefore, the cosmos has been recording their motives while they have been recording your behaviors. Eternity has been documenting their goals as they have been keeping notes on your actions. Heaven has been assessing their hearts while they have been researching your strategies. This is the insight that will completely change the way we think about things. The purpose of this whole monitoring operation was not to drag you down. It was designed to prepare them for the most significant awakening of their lives. The divine has been exposing their inconsistencies via your constancy, your calmness to draw attention to their turmoil, your accomplishment to reveal their fears. Let me go a step farther with this information, contraband. For what follows will radically alter your perception of your place in this cosmic play. You haven't spent the last several years just going about your existence. The whole monitoring network has been compelled to audit your lesson in principled success. Every choice you made out of honesty rather than convenience became a lesson they had to see. Every decision you took based on wisdom rather than expediency became knowledge they were unable to ignore. Every action you took out of principle rather than politics turned into instruction they sorely needed but never asked for. Your life has served as a real-world example of what can happen when someone doesn't give up on their goals. Your experience has served as a live lesson on how to achieve long-term success without compromising your morals. Your narrative has served as a continuous lecture on the need of acting morally even when no one else is around. That was the main idea. Their probe has not been directed at you. You have served as their educational curriculum. There hasn't been any monitoring on you. Their metamorphosis has been taught by you.